reasons. Probably, I think the first step itself, when we are bringing in people into the organization, that's the most important aspect to look at. The other four backgrounds that I want to throw up when we look at talent acquisition, the four scenarios that probably happen in any organization when you start looking at talent acquisition. One is when the company is operating, it's an operational company, but not a brand. That's first scenario. Second scenario is operating company, but it's a brand. Third scenario, startup company, but a backing with a brand. Fourth scenario, startup company and no backing of a brand. If you look at all the four scenarios, very different. And why I shared with you these four scenarios is very pertinent, because talent acquisition has to be a strategy. It cannot be a cutout process where you copy it from one to the other organization. I will be sharing the thoughts of the last scenario, a startup but no backing of a brand. I worked also in a startup organization which was a brand, which had a backing of a brand. Shangri-La, when it came to India, it is a big international brand internationally. But now I'm in a real estate company, N3N. I don't know how many of you would know about it. I will actually start the discussion on talent acquisition by going to the history of how we evolved. This company is almost a 13-14-year-old company. What we were doing in the past 13-14 years was real estate advisory and land banking, which is a very different business perspective or business what we are currently looking at or currently doing. In a land banking scenario or real estate advisory, you buy land, you get a license and sell it. So the life cycle, if you look at the cycle of business, it's a very small cycle. You don't require huge talent pools here. After 13-14 years, the two promoters who had promoted this company started thinking what to do next. And if you look at specifically this industry per se, development comes very naturally. Everybody wants to become a developer because that is where the name and fame is. So they also said, we want to become a developer. The two good positives that this company had was, one, it has a huge land base of land. They are a very Gurgaon-centric company. Second and positive thing about this company is a debt-free company. These are the two positive backgrounds that we had of this company. Once it was decided that we wanted to be a developer, and this was decided in 2009. If everybody would remember, we were still in the recession. We had the clouds were clearing that we might come out of recession. I don't know whether timing was right or wrong, but that was decided at that point of time. If we take example of only Gurgaon as an example, there are at least 1,000 developers in Gurgaon. That also could be an understatement. If I jump into the frame, we become company number 1001. That's the second scenario. Third scenario, companies like DLF, MRMGF, Unitech, Vipul, Vatika, IREO, you name the big brothers, they are all there. So these are realities that were there in 2009 and still there. Why I'm talking about these as a background, because it will help you in understanding how talent acquisition can be strategized. we were initially a couple of team members who were sitting in a boardroom. The two promoters walked into that room and said, we just wanted to share a thought of ours that came to our mind. They speak a lot of Hindi. So in a very crisp English, they said, yes, we have decided to be developers and just wanted to share one thought with you so that it might help you in your evolving process. They said, yes, we have decided to be developers, but we don't want to be anyone. We want to be someone. So this, actually, if you look at this statement, very simplistically said. Is it simple? Very simple. But there is only one word which is a loaded word, which is the word someone. If you start elaborating that page, and in fact we also did that, we ran into pages. In gist, what it meant to say was, if you have to be someone in a scenario when recession is still there, 1,000 companies still there, Big Brother still there, you have to create a landmark. In a real estate sense, what landmark would mean would be to either build up a Taj Mahal or a Qutub Minar. People will say, wow. But they will also say, it is not making commercial sense. I think it's a foolish decision. So, building a Taj Mahal or a Qutub Minar is a nonsensical thought. So the more sensical was to how do we create a landmark? And more pertinent was the first question that I said, recession still being there. This is a question if you ask anyone, do you want to be hit by recession? What probably would be the answer? Yes, no? No. If somebody has said no, what are we doing towards it? Are we going to be sitting ducks the next time it happens? Or leave it to God? So that was the first question we had to answer. And that is where I also got exposed to a lot of people who have not got exposure into cross functions. I got exposure to marketing. I probably had read some books 25 years back, so I had to take out all those books to read it once again to refresh what I had read. Market segmentation is a subject which I think everybody has read. And this was a place where we could actually utilize it in terms of discussion. Why it was pertinent, we actually started looking at which is the segment which is least affected by recession. We did the DNA exercise of all these segments, the bottom end of the segment, the mid segment, the upper mid segment, the premium segment, and the top end of the segment. There is only one segment in the entire segment where people buy, which is least affected by recession. Can you make a guess? It is the very top end of the segment. And if you look at the very top end of the segment, who are those people? The CEOs, managing directors, chairmen, owners, HNIs. And when we identified that segment, we also studied that during recession, what has been their personal spends? How did they spend their money? Their travels, their hotels, their food, their marriages had no impact of recession. So for us, very selfishly, that was the right segment to operate in. But the great difficulty, being a Gurgaon-centric company, Gurgaon has seen everything from the top to the bottom end of the segment. So we also had to study what pulls that segment, what attracts that segment. The first Rolls-Royce car that is launched globally, probably they will be the first segment, that will be the segment which will look at buying that car. Louis Vuitton bags, they will look at buying that. Why? They look at only one specific thing. If the product is not bought by many people, they will look at that. So that was the DNA of that segment. So having identified that segment, we started working backwards in terms of what we will be offering to this segment, and we created a list of 100 things that will be a part of our project. The first project of ours is a residential project, which was pre-decided because of its location and the licenses. So we had no choice but to go in for a residential project. The project, if you would read in the magazines or the newspapers, it's a very, very high-end project. And the product is as expensive as this forest ticket item that I'm selling, is about 4 CR. So obviously that caters to that end of the segment. The second question, if somebody was to ask, do you want to be lost in an ocean? Do you not want to be recognized? Probably they'll say, I think I would want to. Similarly, the company also had an ego, wanted to be recognized. So out of 1,000 companies, how do you get recognized? Is by doing something which distinguishes you from the crowd. The third question, can we or do we have the ability to take the big brothers on, the DLF, the Unitex and the other companies? We had no capability, no ability at the beginning. This was the background where we started. Having decided that you would do a project which is of a very, very high end, who will do it? It's a startup company. People. There is no other strategy that would work, it's a people strategy. You have to work with people, create teams. So where do I source my people from? Simple. The question is, if I ask somebody who's currently 1 year back working in a company like DLF or Unitech or Ansels or any other company, please come and work with me. They would look down upon me and say, what are you talking? People generally prefer working with brands. I'll just share a small thought of why I joined here when I came here. It's exactly about 1.5 years back. I was looking for an opportunity. I started up my own consulting in 2009, but I think it was the wrong timing, so I said I think I'll go back to working. The choice was plenty. Since I've already worked with a lot of brands, I could have gone into another brand. The challenge that I was looking at was, can I leave some footprints or imprints as a history? It can only be left if you're doing something which is totally new, fresh company. It's a big risk, it's a huge risk. I was willing to put my career at stake. And this is one of the strategies which I hit on when I approached people or did a talent acquisition. I used to sell dreams. I did a lot of selling. What I needed was people who were successful or who would have created a similar kind of project what we were envisioning. I couldn't have had mediocre people. I couldn't have had average people. I have had to hire or look at people who had done similar kind of a role and extremely successful. There was no choice. So I only had to work with the first choice. There was no second option for me. 1.5 years back, I only looked at 2 or 3 people only. Only 2 or 3 people. That was a leadership role. With those 3 people, I got demotivated when I started talking to them. Because the motivation was, like I said, they looked down upon me. What are we talking? But then I engaged them in a dialogue, in a discussion, knowing that they have been successful in their projects, what they were doing. So in their discussions, I did not challenge them. I would say that entered into a dialogue and saying that the company helps you in whatever you created. So you can't take that 100% credit of whatever has been created. They said, no, we have done this. I said, no, I will dispute. Because the company provides you a lot of backup, provides you a lot of support in terms of whatever you do. But having disagreed, so I also agreed to disagree with them. So still people entered into the dialogue. I said, I give you an opportunity to create something which might become a history. Our vision was very clear, our philosophy was very clear that we would create a landmark. There was no doubt on that. So here I gave them an opportunity to unleash what they could have done. There were 2-3 people. It took me almost 1.5 months of persuasion, and they're part of my team now. The initial 3 were tough, then it becomes easy. Then you take the referral routes. 3 became 9, 9 became 27, 27 became 81.
How many chairs do you want?
But the common philosophy was always to look at talent which is exceptional. Because the kind of product we were building up did need extraordinary people. When the projects were designed, the architects gave the designs, came out fantastically well. Extremely well received by the customers. The first phase was sold out. And at a price which a new developer in this market has not thought of. So it created a lot of pressure on us. Why it would create a pressure? For one simple reason. The first phase is sold out, the customer is reposing faith on you. The pressure is to deliver. You have never delivered in our life any project or any product. And construction, believe me, is not an easy game. I think my friend would agree, it's a very, very complicated business. There was a last question that he asked us. This was 2 months back. do we have the ability to do a construction? And unshockingly, the answer, we knew that we did not have expertise. So what probably would you do in a development company? You wanted to construct something, but you don't have the expertise and abilities. I think there are outsourcing strategies that people have evolved in the past 15, 20 years. So I think we also do that. For us, the biggest pressure of all was, there was the only one time that the customer is giving us to be in the market. He's not giving us a second option, second chance. So we had to take that chance. So we also said we will outsource our construction. And probably what we did after that was looked at the best construction companies in India and world over. 3 companies got shortlisted. I think many of you would have heard of L&T, Shapoorji Pallonji, and Leighton is a company which is an Australian company. So these are the 3 companies which got shortlisted to associate with us in terms of construction. Generally, when you outsource to any other company, you call them contractors. Yeah? But if you look at all the 3 associates, they are much larger in size than me. Extremely large. If size was to decide, I would become a contractor. So that's why you call them associates. The only 3 things that these companies give us: 1, believe me, these are expensive companies to have on board as outsourced companies. The first, all 3 companies, if you look at, believe in timelines. Second, they maintain the quality. Third, if the first 2 things happen, probably the price escalations will not happen. But if you look at all 3, these are very true to a customer. The customer looks at these 3 things. And probably he might say at the end of the day that you're good. 1%, I may still do something which I would shoot in my feet. Drastically wrong, but I may not become a brand. If you look at this entire background that I put in front of you, was for a simple reason. Don't look at talent acquisition on a standalone or an isolated process. This is a process you have to weave in with the business. Probably if this was some other company, you would have worked different strategy. And strategy is nothing. A lot of creativity is required. Do new things. Don't worry about whether it's going to fail or not. Probably if there are any questions, I think, okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Ahluwalia. I think this was extremely enlightening. And since I belong to that same sector currently, I can relate to a large part of what he has been saying during this session. The 4 scenarios that he started off with, as in the organization being at 4 stages, and being a startup with no brand support and how he went about his task, I think to my mind it's a very, very difficult task, because how do you show the new person coming in what the expectations are, what the final picture is going to be, because he doesn't have anything before him. Most organizations who have a track record have something to show to the new incumbent. But if you don't have a track record, then what do you show him? You show him dreams. And how do you make that happen? Also, the insecurity around joining an organization which has still not delivered anything at the ground level. And therefore, how do you pull out people and encourage them to come and join an organization where what lies ahead is a lot of challenges, and your own belief that you, along with the organization, can make it happen. It's one hell of a selling job, and I agree with you, it's not easy. It's not easy at all. When we get around to discussion towards the end, we will delve a lot more on who creates this picture, how does this picture evolve, who is responsible, what does it mean to the individual. All these things we can delve in greater detail, and how do we work around making action plans to make this a success. Having said that, Mr. Sen, can we turn towards you, please?
Hi everyone, and good morning to all of you. So before I get into my presentation, etc., I just wanted to know a little bit about this great audience. Just wanted to check, so we are into, today the entire day is with talent acquisition, retention, and various other topics. So I'm sure the audience will also be mixed. There will be some people from the recruiting fraternity, some will be from the non-recruiting HR fraternity, and some students, etc. So maybe a little bit of show of hands will at least make me feel, and to know which way I should talk and how I should talk on this subject. So, how many of you are from the hardcore recruiting fraternity? People who are, oh my God. So are you? And out of these hands, I'm going into A/B classification. How many of you are from the the consultant people, the rest I assume are from the corporates, correct? Yeah?
Yes.
Okay. And how many are from the non-recruiting but HR corporates? Okay. Good. So that's a fairly decent mix. And students? Okay. A couple of students with their teachers. So great. So that helps a lot. So so I have people on my side. The people in the corporate, etc. So I'll change gears a bit. I mean, with permission of the two real estate giants, I will move into the IT sector. And that's where we are. And we have been hiring a lot. So we don't have to sell dreams. Fortunately, yes, there is an element of selling definitely all the time, but dreams which are very closer to realities. Okay, that I can at least state that much. Addicent, many of you may or may not know. We were earlier Hughes Software. We were better known as Hughes Software at that point of time. Addicent as a name is building up, and last 2-3 years we have been. We are into communications software. Mostly we are into lot of software which is there on your mobile phones, and ATM networks, satellite networks have been built by our engineers. So that's the area we are into, and we are spread over several countries. And so we have been hired. So we typically hire, in the last 2-3 years, we've hired about 3,000 people a year. So nothing compared to the other IT giants like Wipro or Infosys and the others. Yes, but we have been into that niche area. We hire people who are into wireless or VoIP and satellite communications and telecom, that niche area. So that's the background of Addison. I'm not going to get into that. So I just get into the presentation. I will take the help of crutches, which is the presentation, so that it facilitates my thought process, and also to use some visuals so that you can carry back. Great. So this subject, I'm not. I'll try and keep it simple. I'm not getting into too much of theory. I mean, basically, I will talk about what we have done in Harrison, in the talent acquisition field. I will not get into the basics, and how CV management is to be done, this, that, and I mean, all of you are professionals. I will just, so the sentence you can all read here. I mean, the talent acquisition managers and teams are often seen to be intensely absorbed in the daily transactions of recruiting, and normally forget that there is so much more to be done to increase productivity, reduce costs, create customer delight, and above all, enhance quality of hiring. So in our TA setup, we have created this some concept called TA Center of Excellence. So which adds value, as Dr. Professor Goel was saying, that how can we make the present team or the present labor more efficient to